on here. Welcome. Welcome to day 3 of this challenge, and I'm just debating whether I need to plug in my computer or not. Let me get adjusted here. Welcome, and I may have a couple joining me, so I will keep my eye out for that as I get started, but I do want to get going. So day 3, a quick recap. We started day 1, we introduced the challenge. So I'm curious to see how everybody is doing with the sugar elimination, how that is going, and what you've noticed about the different things that you're eating and how you feel with it too. How is your energy? How are the cravings? What challenges are you facing? So my name is Dr. Alana McLaughlin again, and I look at things differently as a naturopathic doctor. I have also added on trainings in meditation, in yoga, in personal training. So it's really for me about putting the whole body together and doing as much as we can to support ourselves and getting through whatever we're struggling with, whatever our challenges are, so that we can really overcome those challenges and come into our more abundant health and energy and being present and living moment to moment in a state where we feel satisfied, where we feel happy, we feel energized, we feel optimistic, um, which can be very challenging, I know, depending on where you're at. So that is where I see of that shift taking place. Where are you at right now versus where do you want to be? And I start with the challenges because just by awareness, that mindfulness of what we're putting into our bodies makes a huge difference in how we feel and what we have control over. And you may or may not have control over eliminating sugar, depending on where your food is coming from. I will say we are very fortunate, and I know a lot of people that are kind of shifting into more whole food type of living. We've and historically, what used to be where our food came from. We grew it, or we had like trades. We'd go to the market, and then we really shift into this era of packaging things. Right? When it comes to packaging, it comes preservatives, artificial flavors and colors, and it became a market. It became people selling to us. And with that is knowing what we're bringing into our bodies. So that's why I start these challenges, and welcome as you're coming on. The why I begin these, challenges with something about what we're putting in, mindfulness of food, because we do have control over what we choose to put into our bodies. And it may not always be the best or the most ideal choice, but we're doing the best we can with what we have and making that conscious mindset of what we want to be bringing into our bodies. I would expand this also, I haven't talked about it yet, but what comes into our bodies also is through what we're using as we're washing our hands, as we're washing dishes, as we do our laundry, as we're cleaning our home. Are we using things that are safe for our body to filter and to be around, that we don't have to worry about our kids getting into it or our pets? Or are we using things that we feel like we need to sanitize and kill everything and use something artificial? So I personally choose to do things with like vinegar and baking soda and essential oils. Those right there can do most of our cleaning that we need to get done. So it's also, the products that we put on our body, our makeup, our hair stuff, our body washes, our skin, and we have seen this lately, absorbs so much through our skin, right? And this has really caught on with even like all the transdermal patches that they're putting medicines in now, that we can put on a patch with hormones. I feel like was probably one of the first ones, but that shows how effective it is to absorb through our skin. So then we also have to be careful of what does our lotion have in it? What does our body wash have in it? Those extra fragrances or things they don't have to label with what it actually is. I like the environmental working group page for that, Skin Deep. You can research your product and it'll give it a score on how healthy that is for our body. Some of us may not be here yet. It's a stepwise process, right? Of what can we manage, what can we handle that's not going to stress us out, because that also doesn't help us. But I always like to bring that up too as we're talking about this choice, the situation of choices. From there, from the nutrition and the challenges, the movement was the other part, because that's also something we have control over. Sometimes it's really, really hard to get into a new rhythm or pattern, right? To start walking around more, to maybe it's even within the house of just making a habit of going up and down the stairs if we have them, or maybe a walk around the house, maybe to the mailbox. And then others, it's like that routine of once we get into it, it starts to feel good. And then when we don't have it, same thing with food, when we eat something different that isn't what we usually feel good about eating, our body tends to tell us. And those are the things that as we pay attention to our bodies, they often tell us before we see something on a lab or before we see something come up to where it's this big explosion within our body or like taking a lot of our time, is that we have little signs along the way that our body is trying to tell us something's not right. But we are so busy, and I'm the same. Life gets very, very busy. But just noticing and checking in with our body when something is out of balance, then taking a moment to reflect on how do we support it to get it back in balance, because our bodies are very intelligent. They know how to heal when we don't have a, when we're not bombarded every day with things that we're just having to try to get through. And that is within our schedules, within what we're putting into our bodies, with our sleep. Where do our priorities come into play versus what drives us on that day-to-day aspect? So most people finding this, they're looking for other options or looking for things more natural, and it can be very complex. Today, I'm also going to integrate in, some of the things I just grabbed off of my counter and cupboard that I have that I use, not every day, but they're there when I need it. And so that'll be the next step after we go through review of the last couple of days, where we really took your lab values, and this is what that sheet looks like, just this functional lab value, and we can put in our numbers, and there are different comments on there that can give us an idea of what system we're thinking about. But it's more than just like, oh, something's really wrong. That's not the point of this. It's information of, okay, I see something here which can tie in with another part of our labs that is coming back as maybe a high normal on other lab values, or maybe it is actually showing up in a lot of things coming up high. It still doesn't mean we need to panic, but those are some of those signals telling us that something is starting to shift, that is not working as efficiently as we want it to be. So going into the labs, we talked through some of the patterns in there that we're seeing on the last couple of days and starting last Friday, actually. And then from there, we went into the 6 M's, the looking at, let's see if I can do it off the top of my head, methylation, mitochondria, mucosal membrane, cell membrane, minerals, and the microbiome. So these 6 M's are generally within one of these, is kind of the foundation or that weak link, that something's happening in that system or that process that is impacting the next system up. So we might have this whole list of diagnoses, right? Or this whole list of things that's happening, that there's a gastroenterologist and a cardiologist, an endocrinologist, and your general practitioner, an internist. But really, there's a core connecting piece that as we look at that piece, we look at nutrition and how we build that foundation, then we can overcome and start to allow our body to build itself. And with those 6 M's too, I'll kind of talk about then how would we address those. Part of it is the patterns that we see in labs, the patterns that we see in what is happening. And then part of it too is, can we identify a main system in our body that is out of sync? So maybe it comes up as like the memory, brain fog, difficulty thinking, just like everything seems to manifest around that's the main, like the big elephant in the room or whatnot. Maybe it's always digestion, like just nothing. You have to be super careful about what you eat and get the gas and bloating and just cramping, upset stomachs, things like that. Then we're looking at a different way of approaching it. The other big one I would say in there is the low grade underlying infections. For some people, this is a history of having different things happen over time, especially with viruses. They're very, very intelligent and they kind of hang out in, it's called the dorsal root of our spinal column. And they go dormant, but they're still there once we have a weakness, either stress, something significant happening in the body, or something else, maybe mold exposure, to where your body's trying to take care of this. Then these little viruses are like, oh, the immune system is not looking at me anymore. They become even more intense throughout the body. So now you have this and this coming up, which is why we often get these different symptoms happening. But really, we look at the core of strengthening immunity, for example. Or if it's a big energy picture, since I talk a lot about energy and wanting people to be out and enjoying like this beautiful weather and moving more, is that piece of mitochondria. Is our body stressed from internal stressors or emotional stressors, or day-to-day finances, relationship? That's the core that we look at to help with strengthening. That is all the minerals and nutrition there to support that system. So I always say with any of these, like, it's not diagnostic, it's not not treating or curing. We're trying to get you where you are, of having something happening in the body, maybe diagnosed or not. And how do we get to where you have enough energy, you feel like you're in control of your health? That's my goal. So, some things I do, nutrition obviously is key, and movement. If we have those two and we're having focus specifically on those, and sleep would be a tight third, that right there, that trio makes a huge difference in how our body is able to overcome whatever is coming at us. Um, Not as easy as it sounds, because if there's hormones and stress involved, then we look at that stress piece of how do we manage that through breathing, journaling, writing things down that are bothering you, and maybe you tear it up or burn it. Writing positive, doing a gratitude journal every day, so that every day we start our morning with something that's uplifting, rather than like checking the phone and there's something else happening in the news, or putting on the news in the morning and seeing that right away, and your energy sinks. Versus if you start in gratitude, it's a much higher frequency, and our bodies will then operate at that higher frequency. And reminders during the day. A book that I had read, or they had done like a recording, it talks about doing this multiple times throughout the day, of how you want your life to look. Like, visualize, write it down, check in, say, is there something I would change or reprioritize? And that's the energy that you live in every day, versus so much of media and things coming up is fear-based, or separation, like trying to separate of this versus them. So if we can stay in our lane and start a practice of consistency, what we're eating, our hydration, our nutrition, our gratitude practice, that right there again is a solid foundation to build upon from there. The other part that we have to add into that gets complicated though, is emotions. And there are so many amazing books and protocols on the impact of emotions from something that happened, or maybe is still happening, and how that plays out in our body. So emotions are energy, our bodies are energy, our frequency. Everything in our body has a specific frequency to it. So that's where this term bioenergetics comes in, and how we can directly, and in physics, directly measure these frequencies, and what is the level our body is at. So that's something to always keep in mind, and that is where like some of the journaling or processing, or doing like therapeutic walks, things like that, where we get to release, and choosing each day, what may I be able to release? And maybe it's a specific part of your body that's been there for a while. So checking and see, is there an emotion or an event that comes to mind when I think about this? Or when this thing first started, when did that happen? What was going on around that time? Is there something there I'm ready to let go of, or maybe need some support in? So step one. And then as I go into kind of some of the things I'll show you of the tools that I have. Like I said, I don't use them every day, but they're there when I need them, and then I reorder things as I need them. Foundation, I rarely drink regular water anymore. This is my oat straw infusion. Nettles is the other one that I will rotate through. Tea, lemon ginger tea, which you can make on your own using fresh lemon, fresh ginger. It can be really fun to play around with your hydration and get the minerals out of it. When we infuse it, so putting boiling water over your dried herb overnight and then drinking that through the day, we get more minerals, more protein out of those dried herbs than we would if we're just doing tea where we're steeping for, 3 to 5 minutes. So that's an important distinction to note. Other things that I have on hand, I'm going to be kind of on and off camera a little bit. Things I've mentioned lately is, and I forgot to grab one of the ImmunoCal packets, but they come in little packets. These are the little booster packs, which this is the one I use because it doesn't have caffeine in it. It just has our vitamins and some super greens and super reds. These two both are energy performance ones, so they actually do have caffeine, but in the form of green coffee bean. I believe is for both of these. I'd have to look at them again. And again, some people do well with caffeine. They need their coffee every day, and this may be an adrenal type of thing or an energy storage kind of a thing. So I'm always careful when we're talking about caffeine of like, do you need it every day to function or do you crash without it? And then there's other things we need to work on. Or is it part of your ritual and it gives you kind of a nice, even, steady feeling? And some people genetically process caffeine really quickly. So they can do coffee throughout the day and up until they go to bed, and it doesn't really affect them. And some people it's inverse, it actually calms them down. And others, I think I'm in this category. I've not done the genetic testing on that one, but have it where caffeine takes a long time to process. So it makes you feel like jittery and just like don't need it, or your body just doesn't need it. So that's why I do the caffeine free and mix it in with the Immunical. So stir it up together, add it in. And then I usually do mine with, I don't always do one of these. I actually started using it with the blender culture, which is super green and super fruit blend. And I like this one because it does not have stevia in it, which is common. And stevia is one of the better options for a non-sugar sweetener. But I like this because it uses the lohan or the monk fruit extract as the sweetener, and then raspberry as well. So this is one of my go-to, and I will mix it even with water if I'm just needing like a little boost. This is where I generally get my kind of my energy from, and all kinds of minerals in within it. If I'm looking at, since we're talking about systems, those are kind of day to day, like just nutritional support, right? That I'm getting along with food. So I just made my son a kind of a mix together. He wanted a breakfast burrito, so it is afternoon, but grabbed eggs from our chickens, grabbed some pork that's from the pigs that my son and husband raised last year, and put it together. So it's as much as I can, I try to get sourcing of where I know it comes from when possible. As we go deeper, and I'm looking down at what I pulled off, and I've mentioned digestion a couple times. So digestion wise, as I'm thinking about it, there's things like Microbiome Labs. I really love their products. This one is a soil-based probiotic. This one is a enzyme blend that helps if you don't tolerate things like gluten very well or milk very well. Hey, buddy. Sorry, I have a visitor. Their products, especially like any digestive enzymes, is sometimes what we're looking at. Sometimes it's hydrochloric acid. And then the probiotics. Oh, buddy. You want to go get a snack? So sorry, he woke up, fell asleep in the car when we were coming home today. So he was just got up. So as we're going through, probiotics are something that I've actually gotten a lot of questions on lately. And the soil-based ones, generally what I've seen in research is that they last longer. So once you stop taking them, the populations found in soil-based tend to last longer in your bodies. They're more resilient, and they also help regrow. They can take over, almost like they take over the genetics of other bacteria that are in your, the good and other bacteria in our microbiome, so that you have a better digestive microbiome system. So that's one of our M's too, right? Um, and then the other part of that is stress on the digestive system. So that's a big one if that's kind of your focal point, is how are we eating? Are we mindful when we're eating? Are you in a parasympathetic state where it's like rest and digest? So your motility and your intestines is working well, or do you often eat on the go and feeling rushed and stressed to where you're not secreting your own enzymes, you're not secreting your own hydrochloric acid, and your motility is slowed? So those are factors that you can look at without having to take something necessarily. Um, Other systems that I will say is immunity is a big one right now. I feel like I'm noticing again, it seems to be like another wave of immunity things going on. So if that's your core, and if you have any of these chronic underlying infections, generally we need some more concentrated support. Um, some of the ones that I pulled that I've mentioned on my post, I love Jane Health. She has herbal, she's an amazing herbalist. Careful, bud. So this one is one that the kids can use lemon balm and elderberry. And so it's easy, it tastes good. So that's one that I have on hand for kids. And then some of the ones that I've recently been using more is the Alimentum Labs, and it's evidence-based. So this one's immunogenic. And I'm not saying these are like the products that you should or need or have to use. I've got Tri-Ease too, but what I do in these is look. So for example, this Tri-Ease, if it's more like you're reacting to things as the weather is changing or the seasons, this has lemon peel, lavender, and peppermint. So it's a natural antihistamine, like a mucolytic that thins the mucus, and then one that is stimulates an antimicrobial. So I look at ingredients, same thing with immunogenic, is I'm going to look at the ingredients, and I've got different vitamins A, C, D3, E, and K2. So those are vitamins A, D, E, K are fat soluble. And then when we add in things like that, they are also antioxidants. The immune support, there is a blend in here, sea curcumin, green tea extract, lycopene, rosmarinic acid, astaxanthin, taurine. So this is telling me that this is really supporting and giving the foundation or the building blocks for my immune system to be healthy. And there are some immune formulas that will have things like oregano, and I don't have one in front of me. I do have, silver is one if there's a lot of like more antimicrobial bacterial type things. I'll do silver. I have silver on hand just because it is, it's so effective. Um, so I'm saying all of this because there are so many products out there, and I have found ones that I'm familiar with, that I trust, that I know the quality of the ingredients, they're third party tested. And immune system is a big one of boosting, like addressing stress, addressing sleep, broth soup, doesn't have to be supplement based. If you have time to rest and drink broth and sleep it off, use hot packs, do like cold socks with like a pair of wool socks over the top before you go to bed. Those are like warming socks. I've heard them called. Those things, taking a hot bath and like bundling up with a bunch of clothes and going to bed so you like sweat it out. And because a fever or thermogenics is one way our body kills off, viruses or different microbes, right? So there's so many ways that we can get that foundation of how to support ourselves. Let's see, anything else on immunity? Oh, the immune support that I do like with my kids, and I'll say everybody's a little different too. The immunogenic, I would say I've seen better results with my husband and oldest son. My daughter does well with like Tri-Ease when she just tends to be more reactive to things. The little boys, they tend to do more of like the Immunical or some of the glycerites, nutrition and sleep. So it all depends on the person as well. Will have different things that work better than others. So shifting out of immunity, and the other big category, I guess I would say that I'll look at, I do have one formula I grabbed is stress management. And sometimes it's enough to breathe and journal and whatnot, but sometimes it's not. And we need help to get back into a regular sleep cycle to help with our day to day functioning. So the one I grabbed that I have on the shelf that I haven't used a whole lot, because they've been pretty good. Once in a while I might grab one, but is the adaptive calming blend. And more so than like this label or whatever, it is a good option, but I like to look, the blend in it is lavender, um, coriander, wild orange, and fennel, and then ahi flower, which is one that actually supports the neurotransmitter GABA, which is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. So we have some within our brain and in our body that stimulate us, that wake us up and give us like that energy. And then we have others that are calming. And so GABA is one that's more calming. And it actually has scutellarium, which is also one that just helps balance out. We have adaptogens that are really good about just balancing out, whether it's we have a fluctuation of high low energy, like ashwagandha is a really good one for that. Holy basil. There's so many out there that are supportive, some more calming than others. And so I also look at that too when I'm putting together supplements of when to take them, is some are better in the morning when we want a little bit more energized, and some are more at night when we have like this kind of this cortisol spike and we need to actually calm it down with things like chamomile and lavender and GABA, L-theanine, things like that. So this is going to be a lot of, terms, and some of you may be like right on board that you're like, oh, I know exactly, I'm tracking, and others are like, oh my gosh, foreign language, that's so many things. And my big point though is not you having to know all this, but having something or a company or person that you trust who can help guide you through it all. The last category that I'll talk about, because it's been one that comes up quite a bit, is as we're going through with the body systems, when we get different things like discomfort and inflammation in our bodies, is this one too. I just grabbed one that first one on there. Actually, there's this Contralenta, and oh, I meant to grab it, but I didn't. It's called Formula 303. So Contralenta, I'm mentioning that because the ingredient label on it that we can find in several other types of products. Deep Blue capsules is another good one. But it has MSM, chondroitin boswellia, which is the anti-inflammatory, devil's claw, boron, glucosamine sulfate. So this one too is reading the ingredients is more for like joint discomfort when we have it, versus there'd be other things I would go to more if it's musculoskeletal or like more of the muscle related, like magnesium, and peppermint can be a good one for that. Aroma Touch has a blend of things in it. So along with things they take, sometimes it is like oil. I have oils all over that the kids know this is one of the kids blends for, it's Thinker or Focus blend, but it's nice and calming. So you can use it like before bedtime or before if they're studying, things like that. And this was just, like I said, some of the ones that were right there as I grabbed, because I was wanting to share some of this today. But not going through a whole plethora of things, but just to get an idea of how I'm looking at this process. I think I said last on that one, but I will look at this one because I've got it right here. This is a metabolic support, and it's got mulberry, berberine, and then cinnamon, grapefruit, peel oil, peppermint, cinnamon bark, and ginger root oil. So this tells me with metabolic, this one's really helping when we have significant fluctuation in our blood sugar regulation. Things like adding cinnamon or having cinnamon tea before you go to bed at night can sometimes help that person who's waking up in the middle of the night. And it might be that there's like something causing a cortisol spike or a melatonin drop that's waking them up. And sometimes it's blood sugar regulation. This one might also be just during the day if there's different things happening. So as people ask, which I get all the time, of like, this is what I'm taking, like, what do you think about it? I go back to the basics. I'm like, all right, can we take a look at your labs? Let me see what you're already taking. how do you feel when you take it or not? I didn't grab a multi here, but a multivitamin. If you feel super tired, I would wonder, does that multivitamin have methylated B vitamins in it, methylcobalamin and methylfolate? Because as I talked about a couple of days ago, that could be not processing well and might be increasing our homocysteine, which is inflammatory in the cardiovascular system, among other things. So those are just some of the things I'm looking at. I don't love to compare supplements that people are already on. But if you're already on something that's working and we just need to find like the missing piece in there, then that's going to be, if that's already balancing you out, then I'm all for staying on. But if we're starting from over, what I have really loved lately is that one, the Immunogenic company, they actually have these base protocols based on what's happening. And even taking two products usually for people, for example, the Immunogenic and Methylgenic. I've used that for a few people now for energy and just immunity through the winter, being around a lot of kids, and they did amazing. Like, no, not getting sick at all, had great energy. So other people who are doing more cleansing, they've got detoxigenic and a binder in there, bindgenic, I think it is, might be something that like helps with getting through. So it's targeting and finding again that focus. Or if there's a lot going on, the labs have a lot going on, you've had something chronic and you're trying to figure out what is going on, what do I do? Then that's when I'm like, let's wipe the slate clean. Let's start with cellular cleanse. And most people am having to do that because most people have never done a cellular cleanse. So I'm usually starting there and then going into a program. Maybe it's brain focus, maybe it's this whole body or whole body healing protocol. Maybe it's a whole body like detox, kind of a low grade infection cleansing. And the other one might be with weight. If like the weight is the one thing, and it's not going to be like these fad weight loss things, it's getting to the root. It's liver support, it's kidney support, it's digestive support, it's cellular support, mitochondrial support, microbiome support, healing the mucosal membranes. So we're looking at the root to get where, excuse me, to get where you want to go. So I would love to hear if anybody has any questions. And I know I did a lot of talking and I wanted today to be kind of again informative so that you can come back because I know a lot of people are not able to join live, but going back and be brief, and this has actually gone longer than I was planning, but I also wanted to share just how I go through this process as I'm supporting people and to get you to be able to do some of that on your own, but then knowing when you've reached kind of the point of reaching out or not. Yes, my little one is showing you this because this was one, to get back on camera, is one that we do in the mornings, right, buddy? And it tastes good. You guys like it. So not everybody loves the taste of it at first, but as you saw, my one who just turned 5, that's like our go-to that we mix it with the Immunical, add that in, add some water, and we got a good start to the day. So I think that's all I have for now. And if you have any questions, please reach out, let me know. And the other part is you won't want to miss tomorrow. So I have an amazing a guest coming on. Carrie is doing a regenerative health summit right now she's created, it's one or a couple per day with I think she's over 30 people now of experts in the health field. So it'll give you the opportunity to connect with her summit and all of those speakers. And I'm just really excited to pick her brain. We have a lot of overlap, but also she comes from a place where she needed that to get through what she was going through at the time. So she'll share her story and then where she is now. So I will end the recording for now. I will hang out here for just a bit longer though for questions that we can take off camera.